Well, the problem with the Conservative Party at the moment is that it's falling between two stools. On the one hand, it knows that it is absolutely failing with younger voters. If you look at the Conservative Party's support in the 1980s, it was between 40 and 50% of younger voters, that is to say, under 40s, voted for Mrs Thatcher consistently. At the moment, it's in the teens. And this is because young people can't access capital. They can't buy houses, they can't buy flats, they don't have the savings to buy stocks and shares. And this is an absolute catastrophe for them. But the Conservative Party's core vote are those property-owning, probably older people around the country, not just in the affluent southeast, who don't want more house building because they've got lovely views in small villages and they think that things are perfectly fine as they are. So unless the Conservative Party can address this dichotomous situation, unless it can find a way to appease the older voters who already have their houses and to say to the young who don't, we are there for you, or we are trying to find a way through this situation, there is no possibility of ever winning an election in future.
Really interesting, this conference yesterday of, as Stephen was saying, pro-Boris Johnson, generally Conservatives. What do you think their main aim is? Because it wasn't a particularly good omen, was it, when Priti Patel stood up to speak? She actually received a standing ovation when she said the party was in decline. Do you think they're looking for Boris Johnson to be reinstated, or are they looking for something else?
So looking for Boris Johnson to be reinstated, they must be absolutely in cloud cuckoo land. There's no way that he could win an election. I think what this is about is the people on the centre to the right of the Tory party putting down their markers to be the next leader when the, I think, inevitable election defeat comes. And I think Priti Patel has a rather good chance of getting somewhere near that contest, because she does have great support among the party in the country. She's clearly got support on the backbenches, or she wouldn't have got that standing ovation. But I worry that to the rest of the country, it looks like the Tory party falling back into its old habits of fighting among themselves, while there are, in fact, serious problems that the nation needs it to deal with.
It's not all just a clear walk for Keir Starmer, though, at the next election, whenever that comes. I mean, he gave a speech yesterday, and what seems to be one of the most fascinating things about it, he said, I don't care if people think I'm a Conservative.
Well, he's trying to message to the Red Wall, isn't he?
That's extraordinary, isn't it?
Well, it's rather like Tony Blair saying in the lead-up to 1997 that they were getting rid of Clause 4 and that they were happy with the market economy, because it has to be recognised that there is still a centre of opinion, centre ground of opinion within the country that doesn't like the Conservative Party as it is at the moment, but certainly isn't a socialist body of opinion. So Mr Starmer, in order to win, has to appease that body, has to appeal to them. And I think...
So does this fall into David Cameron sort of implying he was heir to Blair and all that sort of thing?
Yes, I mean, it's the old trope that you have to win an election from the centre ground, that you don't win it, which I don't think is true, by the way. If you look at some of the big majorities, they've been won from positions of principle on either side. Harold Wilson from the socialist side in the 60s, Margaret Thatcher from the Conservative side in the 80s. But I think this is Keir Starmer has done a very good job recently when he's talked about things of what you might call a culture war sort of perspective. He's also addressed the fact that he understands that the NHS is in dire need of reform, which very few Labour leaders have been willing to do for a long time. It's seen as a poisoned chalice. So I think it's just a classic bit of election rhetoric, looking forward to the campaign that will come later this year or next.